Hello and welcome to Miss Shipley's Classroom. I'm Farah, and in this video series, I'm going to be tackling some of the biggest problems that teachers deal with every day in their classrooms. Now, these are small problems, but to a teacher, they become big problems, and it takes all of us in the community sharing tips and tricks in order to solve these problems and maybe save our sanity. But before I jump into today's teacher hack, do you have an issue or a problem that you're just struggling to solve? Be sure and comment below with your issue or problem that you maybe need a solution to. And those of us that have been in the classroom a while, or even a new teacher, chime in and share how you've solved that problem in your classroom. All right, let's dive into today's teacher hack. Teacher hack number 2 actually comes from a question that I received from a viewer, and I wanted to make sure to answer her question. So this question comes from Stacy Bartlett, and Stacy's question was, do you use a numbering system in your classroom? If so, how do you use it? So Stacy, thank you so much for sending this to me. And again, if you have a question or an issue that you'd like me to answer on camera or even not on camera, then be sure and email that to me. You can email it at farahshipley@mrsshipley.com, or you can comment below. You can find me over on Facebook at Ms. Shipley's Classroom as well. So Stacy, thank you so much for asking your question. This question I get asked a lot because of some of the things that I've shared either on Facebook, on my blog, and yes, I do use a numbering system. I did use a numbering system in my classroom. My students were always numbered from 1 to however many students I had, and I numbered them in alphabetical order. I did this for several reasons. The biggest reason that I came up with this was originally because I was tired of spending a tremendous amount of time putting papers into alphabetical order after I would grade them. So I decided to start numbering the students, and I didn't invent this. It was probably a teacher hack that I read on a blog or somewhere with regard to maybe this exact issue or something else, and I thought, oh, that will work for this. And I number them in alphabetical order. And that way, when students turn in their paper, they actually turn them in number order. So they were required to go through the papers and actually put their paper where it needed to be in number order. I would also, perhaps when I was working with students or when I was picking up papers as a group, I would simply say number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and I would call out the numbers in order, and they would bring them up to me very quickly. So I could simply count, say 23, and we had numbers, or we had papers turned in. So that was one way that I used it. I also used that numbering system for lining up. I also used it for where their supplies, so that I knew whose supply belonged to who. Their folders, I used that on my station chart. Instead of writing their names, I would put their number. I used it on one of my behavior boards, my improver board, so that their number was up there as well. So yes, I used a numbering system. Now, the question that I get most often with regard to this is, what do you do if you have a student that moves and you have an open number? Or if I had a student leave, then I left that number blank. If I got a new student and that student fit in that spot alphabetically, then I would go ahead and fill that spot. Okay. If I was using a digital grade book, there were years where I was actually having to use a paper grade book. And if I was using a paper grade book, I did not fill that spot, because in a paper grade book, you have to add them down at the bottom. But when I was using a digital grade book, I could actually go in and plug them in that spot, and it would show them in alphabetical order. Especially in Texas, we use a system called Gradebook, that is usually, and I don't know about other states, maybe you use something similar that's online with regard to your educational region. And we used a district-wide grading system. So it would automatically have them in order. Now, it was, usually what would happen was kids moved up and down, their numbers changed in there. So I didn't worry about so much about the numbers there as I did with regard to when they were putting them in order, because I wanted to make sure when I was flipping through papers and entering grades, I could just flip through the papers. The other thing this did was it let me know who had not turned one in. I could very quickly flip through papers and see if a number was missing that I knew I didn't have a paper, or maybe I needed to look somewhere else. This was really great for homework because I didn't necessarily grade homework when I gave homework. I didn't necessarily grade the homework. I was just checking to see if it had been done and completed and turned in. So they're all different. That's the way I would handle if a student moved out. If a student left, I left it blank. And if the new student that came in fit in that spot, yeah, I might add them in there. If not, I would just add them to the bottom and we would just have a missing number. So that's how I dealt with that problem. Thank you so much again for reaching out and sharing your question. Again, if you have a question, be sure and comment down below or shoot me an email. I'll leave that email down below as well. And I look forward to speaking with each and every one of you. I love getting your emails. I love seeing your messages. So please, please, please reach out and share your tips, tricks, and advice for the classroom. Be sure and jump over to Facebook and follow me on Facebook. If you're not following me on Instagram, be sure you do that as well. I love to share out tips and tricks from other teachers so that you can be the best teacher that you can be. Guys, I look forward to next time. Happy teaching.